couple days ago, Notre Dame knocked off Georgia for their biggest postseason win in 31 years, 32 years, actually. So to talk about this, we're going to get a national perspective from JD. Piquel does an incredible job covering college football on the On3 YouTube channel. Please check it out. I'll leave the link to the On3 YouTube channel in the pinned comment. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the channel for more content. JD, this was you in a video you put up after the game, eating crow.
Yep.
You picked Georgia. You said this didn't taste good. How did Notre Dame get this one done, man? Notre Dame beating Georgia 23-10.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, when you pick against Notre Dame and they go and do what they did to Georgia, you help yourself a little bit of crow. But I mean, dude, the thing that stuck out to me was how dominant Notre Dame was in the trenches. And it sounds kind of cliche to say, but like if you were to tell me the day before the game, hey, guess what? Riley Leonard's going to throw for 90 yards. Like, okay, I mean, I don't love that stat line, but like we'll see. What's Gunnar Stockton do? He throws for over 200, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Okay, like Georgia probably is covering then, no? Well, Riley Leonard runs for 80. The Notre Dame defense, I mean, essentially stonewalls Georgia, keeps them under 100. Like there was just, I think, speaking to what Marcus Freeman says a lot of, like, we're going to be a line of scrimmage driven program. Like that was evident yesterday against a team that has prided itself historically now, given in recent history with Kirby Smart, like being that bully. So the take for me is like, hey, Notre Dame has, one, arrived at Marcus Freeman, if that wasn't evident yet. Two, Notre Dame is no longer going to be out-personneled, especially up front.
Yeah. I mean, when you hire Marcus Freeman as your head coach to replace Brian Kelly, it's like you're taking a little bit of a risk with a first-time head coach, but you know what he's able to do with recruiting and things of that nature, like you're hoping to take it to the next level. So yeah, I mean, it's like what does it say about Notre Dame now from the national landscape that you cover, JD? Like, because someone asked me, hey, what does this mean for recruiting? I personally believe that this shows recruits across the country, hey, Notre Dame's not just a nice program. This is a program where I can go compete legitimately for a national championship. Like it's not just a pitch anymore. I am seeing Notre Dame beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl and beating Georgia at their own game. So a long way to ask you, like, what does this say about the status of Notre Dame football?
I think what you just said is perfect, man. Like it changes the entire optics around Notre Dame because for really, I mean, our generation, Notre Dame has been like good team, made the playoff before, made the BCS national title before. But when they line up with the big dogs, though, like kind of gets ugly. Like I got some stats here in front of me. The BCS title game, Notre Dame outrushed 265-32 by Bama. The college football playoff game, Notre Dame outrushed 88-211. Like the script has been flipped by Marcus Freeman. And so just what you said a second ago, I think is really important, especially in the southeastern part of the United States where there's a lot of talent, where Notre Dame has won some recruiting battles early and maybe had some trouble hanging on to those commitments. This now answers the question to, hey, why should I pick Notre Dame over maybe a school in the SEC that's closer to home? I think if you're Marcus Freeman, you can now say, no, you can still pick that SEC school if you want to, all up to you, but just make sure you watch that Sugar Bowl tape. You don't pick that SEC school because you think there's something you can accomplish there that you can at Notre Dame. Like we just beat the SEC champion and we beat them, like you said, at their own game. So optically, man, I think there was always that feeling of like, well, hey, there's this ceiling at Notre Dame for Marcus Freeman. Can you really win there how you maybe historically would expect to win at Notre Dame? The glass ceiling has been broken and there is shards everywhere.
I don't know if this is a popular – I think this might be an unpopular opinion among Notre Dame fans. Last year, although it was the 14 playoff, you see Michigan win the title. And I remember thinking, as much as Notre Dame fans hate Michigan and – you have the whole Connor Stalions cloud and that whole thing. Sure. I feel like Michigan kind of was a template in a way for Notre Dame to make this run. It's like you may not have the highest blue chip ratio. You may not have all the 5 stars, but you play smash mouth football. You play offense, defense, special teams, out coach. You can beat anyone. Like you said, Riley Leonard, 90 yards. 90 yards, JD. Notre Dame's passing game, anemic.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it was bad. Chris Mitchell is a starting wide receiver for Notre Dame. I don't have the snap counts from me. He had 0 catches. Bo Collins, 1 catch. Jordan Faison, half of Riley Leonard's yards. He had 45 receiving yards. Half of Leonard's yards. Do you agree with my take here?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there because what you just said, like the simplicity of what Notre Dame does and has perfected is something that will translate. Now, I do think it's important now getting the win they got against Georgia. I think in the 12-team playoff, it's going to be more important to be a little bit more multi-pronged and to have maybe a higher talent level. Again, I say that we're in the first year of this thing, so we'll see
Right.
if that holds true. But I mean, even with what happened last night, like Georgia, from a Stars perspective, like you just alluded to, like they were the more talented team, if we want to point to that. So if I'm a Notre Dame fan, even if we're not going to have the number one class every year, I would expect now with a win like this, take this momentum, maybe finish a little bit higher in the top 10 in the future. And then at the end of the day, I think last night is a testament to you have a head coach who will at least have the opportunity to oututilize his roster over anyone. And I think Notre Dame, too, from a personnel perspective, is at least in striking distance, if that makes sense. Like, you don't have to have the Ohio State roster to go compete for national championships. I'm sure it's nice. I'm sure it's probably in the long-term plan for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But like overall, they are good enough from a talent perspective to where Marcus Freeman and those traits and that culture can close whatever gap there is.
Yeah, you would definitely prefer to just win by talent, but look, Notre Dame, it kind of is what it is. Like with this roster, you have to dominate in the other areas. Like, yeah, who would have thought that Marcus Freeman would outcoach Kirby Smart, which we're all going to go to
Yeah.
next. You have been very high on 2 individuals specifically with Notre Dame: Marcus Freeman and Jeremiah Love. J Love dinged up, was sick against Indiana, a little flu game there, the 98-yard touchdown, who banged up against Georgia. So I don't want to spend too much time on Jeremiah Love, but can you tell me about Marcus Freeman and the job he's done?
Yeah, man. I mean, even going back to what we just said a moment ago, when he took the job and the glass ceiling that was perceived to be on the Notre Dame, job and where it's located and the academic standards, I just have so much respect and admiration for the way that he's just attacked it, man.
Is he
Like
a
it'd be
program
very
guy?
easy to make excuse. Oh, program guy through and through. You look up program guy, and there's a picture of Marcus Freeman right there in the dictionary. Depending on where you're shopping and what if you get your dictionary in South Bend, it's probably definitely on the cover. But yeah, man, just like there has never been this complacency or this, well, we can't because we're here geographically. Like, I know this is something that he's mentioned a couple different times, but like the whole mantra of challenge everything,
Yep.
and that's something that wears great on a t-shirt. I'm sure it's awesome when you break it down during winter conditioning on challenge everything, but to actually walk it out with how they've built the roster, with how they've hired an offensive coordinator, with how they've gone to the portal 2 different times for a quarterback, and now a guy who's got him within a game of winning a national championship or playing for a national championship. Like, I think that in itself is extremely admirable. And it's just funny to say, this is not really what you asked, but like, I think Marcus Freeman has made Notre Dame so like nationally likable, which isn't
Yeah.
something that I think you really say it a lot with old Notre Dame teams. Like, you got I'm rolling here, but you got a head coach who's 38 years old, probably said no to GQ to be your head coach, right? You got a quarterback who's a 3-star cat, transferred from a basketball school. Like, it's a likable story, it's a likable team, and like I'm here for it, man. I'm all the way here for it.
Yeah. So that wasn't the be all end all, right? They do have another game to play. So Notre Dame, Penn State, man, like I don't know, from where I sit, JD, it's like, Randy, Penn State's not going to be a slouch, but might be an easier test. I don't know. Penn State and Notre Dame, as well as Georgia, all seem like pretty similar teams. Physical, not going to light you up offensively. Penn State's got the Mackey Award winner with their outstanding tight end, but I think Notre Dame opened up as a 2-point favorite. Curious, just last thing before we get you out here, your thoughts on this Orange Bowl matchup in a few days. Like, how do you think this one's going to shake out?
Yeah, the matchup stylistically is really fun because I think like Penn State's kind of like your Cheesecake Factory, big menu, right? A lot to look at. You got a defense flying around. You got Drew Aller, who's been phenomenal these last 3-ish games. You mentioned Tyler Warren, the running back room, the skill players. So you have that, but then you also have the opposite side of things, where I think like Notre Dame's kind of your in and out, like very simplistic. We do burgers and fries. We run the football. There's a secret menu now. We got a little bit of the substitution magic. We got, we're gonna win the margins, but so that whole matchup's gonna be really interesting to me. I think if you're Penn State, I don't know that you can just win matchup football against Notre Dame. Like, I think you probably say we have a chance to be more explosive, just given what we saw Notre Dame be in these first two playoff games and given what we saw Tyler Warren be. But I don't think it's a thing where you can just say, all right, we'll run our playbook versus your playbook and feel great about it. Xavier Watts versus Tyler Warren will be a super fun matchup.
Yeah.
Last thing I'm watching here, too, is like we talk a lot about the importance of stepping under like the heavy bar when you play teams, in terms of like your ramp up for different matchups in college football. Notre Dame's done that. Like Indiana, say what you want about them, they may only have losses to Ohio State and Notre Dame, and that could be the national championship game. Notre Dame playing Georgia, say what you want about how down quote unquote Georgia is. Still Kirby Smart, still a lot of 5-stars on that roster. Penn State's played two teams that aren't even in the same zip code as them when it comes to roster talent. Now, does that matter? I don't know, but I do think it's worth watching if Notre Dame kind of takes a jump up on Penn State, and Penn State's kind of trying to ramp things up because they haven't played someone the caliber of a Notre Dame in this playoff.
Yeah, Penn State can be scored on, and I think that Al Golden is going to have a field day with Drew Aller, who's not the most mobile quarterback. He's a good passer, but I don't know. I think that Notre Dame is. I think it's going to be similar to Notre Dame's game against A&M and Notre Dame's game against Georgia, something like 23-13, 23-14, something like that. So, JD, appreciate your time, folks. Hit the thumbs up on this video. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you are new here. And as always, we will catch you next time.